Then tell me, teachers who wants to work with the storyline, how should they be formed or educated for that? I mean, you cannot just read about it in a book or what?
This is what, if you asked me what is the most difficult thing about storyline, I would say the passing on of information about how it works. I think if one teacher looks into a classroom where another teacher is doing storyline, then the immediate reaction is one of superficiality. They'll see all the little bits of paper, they'll see the models, they'll see the frieze or whatever. What they do not see is all the thinking that has gone into the production of that. However, it is very easy for a teacher who is starting, for example, storyline, only to do the bits that look good. So that they float along the surface, when in fact the whole purpose of this is to motivate for depth in understanding and in skill practice.
And
how we do that is in course training, and I haven't found any shortcut for that. I think the best possible course is one where a tutor is working through a topic with groups of teachers who are acting as a class. And we don't ever ask them to act like 10-year-olds, because they're acting at their own level all the time. But they are feeling the reaction of the activities. Because they've created the models, because they've been involved in the writing, because they've been asked, what would you do in your classroom with this topic? What are the kinds of skills that you could practice through this particular story? Then they know what they would do, and we push the idea of the fact that this is being made but with a purpose in mind, and the purpose is certainly to motivate children to practice skills that they need to practice. Education is about practicing skills. Kids are not going to get better at doing something once, by doing something once. They have to do it several times, again and again and again. And that is what's kind of boring about education. And it can be boring for the teacher as well as for the children. So what is important about this is that you take a different story, a different context, and you have the same skills being practiced. You're writing letters, but with a purpose. You're creating a book, but with a purpose. You want to do it because this is important to you.
So while working, you would stop and say, hey, what's going on right now? What's the purpose? What's happening? Can we dig a little bit deeper into it?
One of the best ways of evaluating and assessing what is done in storyline is the portfolio idea, where children are constantly collecting the bits of writing and so on. And from time to time, the teacher will sit down with a child and say, show me a piece of work that you're really proud of. You know, and why are you proud of that? You know, and that kind of thing. Is there something there you would like to throw in the garbage can? You know, and again, what we're trying to do is to give them the language for being self-critical, but also to do it in a way that is diagnostic. We're evaluating this. We're assessing material very specifically. In order to improve that, not to compare children in their class and put them into rank order.
But to see, so you would never accept an answer saying, I do this because it's fun. I mean,
what better motivator is there than fun? And I think it's lovely that you can have fun in the classroom, but that is not that's not what I'm aiming at. In the first instance, I'm aiming at success for the children. I want to challenge the children. I want them to do. We use the term to work to their potential, you know, and that's very trite, I know, but it's important that children are challenged, that they feel that I won't just accept anything
No.
that they're going to do. And I think that this is one of the important things about the displaying of their materials too.
Yeah.
If children do things that are hidden away all the time, then why should they do their best?
That's right. That's right.
Whereas if we display this and we say, now people want to read this book.
I would like to ask you if you can tell me what are the characteristics of a good storyline, a good story for
Yes.
a storyline.
It's very important in a storyline to have a good start.
Yeah.
And so a good start which hooks the interest of the children. And I've seen many different ways of starting a story. And of course you can use a story, an existing story.
Yes.
You can use a storyline from a novel or from a nursery rhyme or something that the children know quite well.
Yeah.
But if we're making our own story, what is important is that we use a device that will hook the children to the story. Sometimes it's enough to create families because there's an immediate kind of interest in that. Sometimes it's enough to say, oh, they're going to open a new marketplace near you. What kind of market stalls would you like to see? And you make the setting first. But other times a letter arrives at the class.
Yeah.
And it could be that this is advising the class that help is needed by someone who has immigrated to Canada 20 years ago and will be bringing his Canadian family back to look at his Danish roots and so on. And this gives the purpose, the context, that sets it, you know, very, very quickly. And so that's important, the beginning. What is then important is that we have a lively kind of development that creates the setting. We need, in any story, 3 elements: the place, people, and time. And you can start with the place, as in the marketplace, and then make the stall holders and the customers, or you can start with your people, like in the families, and then they build their homes and so on. It doesn't matter which you take, but there should be a logical development of the story leading to incidents, because this is what gives the teacher the kind of gold mine for teaching. Because always we're looking for exciting events which we can tap for making scientific experiments, for thinking about physics, for thinking about how to solve problems a whole variety of ways, for writing stories, for doing television interviews, for whatever. And we use these incidents for our purposes, our educational purposes. After that, and we would say that the making of the setting and the characters should be about 50%, and not less than that, because the whole purpose of making the setting and the characters is what you can do with them.
That's right.
The use of them. So that would be at least half the story in incidents, and then there should always be a kind of high point. I mean, none of us would read a novel if we weren't going to come to a climax or a good culmination. Now, sometimes it can be a kind of sad, it can be a tragedy. Not too often in a class, but I mean, it's not always a big party or whatever, but a culminating event that just rounds off the story at the end